Everyone's reacting to the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion seating chart, the set, and Candiace Dillard-Bassett is addressing the fact that she did not get first seat. And we have to talk about a tweet that I posted about what Bravolebrity would shake the Bravo universe if he or she returned. A lot of you had big opinions. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So, as you know, the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion was filmed here in New York City this past Thursday, and there are a lot of people wondering what happened, what went down. And for the very first time ever, Bravo released the same day the set and the seating chart. And a lot of you were very interested and had big opinions about the seating chart. But a lot of you, very much like me, are like, why is the seating chart such a big deal anymore? Especially because at the end of the day, there really is no indication that this seating chart means anything for the future of the housewives. If anything, it means more about how these housewives show up for the Super Bowl of their season and if they're going to come back. The seating really doesn't indicate that, because if it really did, Kyle Richards would not be sitting next to Andy all of these seasons. And there have been a lot of people speculating that Kyle has it in her contract. Now people are speculating 7 seasons in that Gizelle might have it in her contract because she's always seated next to Andy. However, I'll argue this, although I don't love especially the Gizelle that we've gotten in the last few seasons, she's earned that seat next to Andy because she's always in the mix of everything, being a producer. And that's not necessarily a good thing, Gizelle. We'll get to the Lisa Rinna of your future in a second. So a lot of people were reacting to the seating chart. So take a look at the seating chart. So the seating chart, we see Andy in the center. Again, you know how we feel about the whole situation with Andy handling these conversations about what they're going through. When we talk about colorism, him being the moderator of these conversations, we've said this, we don't like it, but at the end of the day, he is the executive producer of the show, and his ego will not allow him to let his franchise be great. So Andy's in the center there, of course, moderating this conversation. Gizelle's on his, I guess it would be his left, but we'll say for argument's sake for us, on the right. Then we have Ashley next to her, and then we have Dr. Wendy Asefo. On the other side, we have Karen, which I predicted. I said, I have a feeling it's going to be Karen, partially because it's not just about what we saw earlier in the season. We have to remember, there's still parts of the season that we haven't seen yet. And based on what we've seen, what's going on in Mexico, there's a lot of things. They've been talking about Karen and the Cherie situation since the beginning of the season, and now it's come to a head at the end of the season. So I can see why Karen is sitting next to Andy. We also have to keep in mind that Karen doesn't always sit next to Andy in these reunions. Right next to Karen is Candiace. And a lot of you felt like Candiace should have had the seat next to Andy. Some of you even said that Wendy should have been on one side and Candiace on the other. But that's not the normal way that this seating works. Usually anyone that's on the opposite side of each other usually had issues with each other during the season. So right next to Candiace is Robin. I thought that was interesting. But I think they intentionally do not sit Robin and Gizelle together, even though throughout the season, we already know that Robin is riding on the coattails of Gizelle and being her bodyguard and lapdog throughout the season. I think producers intentionally keep them separate, even though, guys, at the end of the day, we still see them together during the season. You can separate them at the seating all you want. We still see them basically Batman and Robin, okay? Mia is right next to her. And look, a lot of you have speculated over the years if the person is on the farthest on the seating, that means it might be the end of their season. But we've seen in the Real Housewives of Atlanta, that's not necessarily true. Kandi has been on the edge of her seat, almost falling off the stage, and she's returned. People have speculated, oh, she's not coming back. And here she is. What? This is her 14th season? I don't remember at this point. She came into season 2. They're on their 15th season. You do the math. Mia is on the far edge and Wendy's on the far edge. However, I'll say this, and although I do like when Wendy shows up and Wendy can read a girl down, especially Mia, however, I don't feel like she had the season that a lot of you have said that she's had. Yes, she's had some issues, but I don't feel like she's shown up. We've given her 3 seasons, and I think we've given her a lot of grace. And I don't think that Wendy has really meshed well on this show. And it could be partially because these ladies have not really embraced her either. It could be that too. But I also feel like singularly, when we see these scenes with just Dr. Wendy Sefo and her family, unless her mother's there, it's sort of like, and I've said this during our recaps, I'm just like, it's not connecting. And we've really given Dr. Wendy a lot of opportunities to kind of show up. And she does, like in this last episode of Mexico, she does show up surprisingly, like, oh, but I don't think that's enough, especially your 3rd season in. But that's my opinion. You all have your own opinions in the comment section, per usual. Okay, so we got the seating chart for the very first time. Bravo released the actual set. And at first I thought the set was Mexico, but if you take a closer look, no, it's not Mexico, it's Miami. So I want to hear your opinions in the comment section. Do you feel like Miami was the bigger trip? Maybe because, and if you think about it, then it's sort of like, well, then maybe Wendy should have been in the first seat if Miami was the set. Well, Miami was really all about Dr. Wendy and the issues that she had with Mia. Some of you felt like Mia should have had the seat next to Andy because of all the issues that she had during the season. She had issues with Wendy. She had issues with Jacqueline. And I'm assuming that Jacqueline, when she comes out, she and Charisse will probably be on Gizelle's side. Especially because Charisse is going to be having issues with Karen, and usually they have those folks across from each other. The only time that we've seen them next to each other was the last reunion of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, where Sonia and Drew were next to each other. All right? Remember, same production company of both shows. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got that little messiness. I wouldn't be surprised if Mia is sitting right next to Jacqueline, but no. I haven't heard anything specific of how this reunion went, but from what I've heard exclusively on Twitter, because I can say this is not a source, a producer tweeted us and just said it was a long day. The producer literally says, after I reposted the seating chart, because that was another thing that the producers decided, they said they're going to release this before the blogs. They literally said this in their tweet, Bravo. They hinted like, should we release the seating chart? And then they did before it was leaked. Y'all sit here and act as if those leaks come from out of nowhere. It's your staff. Okay? Sometimes it's the housewives, but most of the time it's not. So on Twitter, Chuck Bass, also Nico NYC, tweeted me and said, 17-hour workday, this reunion, and with an emoji face, like he's tired. 17-hour workday. I'm wondering what went down. We already know this is probably at least going to be a 3-part reunion. I know some of you are going to say, what are they really going to talk about? Well, there's a lot to unpack. We've got to talk about what went down in Miami. We have to talk about what went down in Mexico. We have to talk about Robin's wedding. And sidebar, I think I want to defend the fans that keep talking about this wedding and talking about how Robin, because we know in this next episode, Robin and Karen go at it. I don't think people care about Robin getting married. If Robin literally said to us, you know, we did the big wedding, we don't really care to have a wedding. It's not about the wedding for us, the audience. It's more about her fake relationship that we're getting. We don't get love or deep relationship between Juan Dixon and Robin. It has nothing to do with the wedding. It has nothing to do with her actually if Robin decided to have a secret wedding and get married, we would be like, okay. But the way that she's dragging it out for the love of Heather Gay's black eye, that's what we're getting from Robin. We don't care about a wedding. Anyone else? We don't care about Robin actually showing us the wedding. We don't care if she decides to have a small wedding in Jamaica. We don't care. What we care about is the fact that she's dragging this out as a storyline, especially when we hear rumors. Literally, Karen brings up rumors of Juan Dixon being with other women. That's what we're frustrated with. It's like, why do you keep giving us this fake and fraudulent relationship when we know otherwise, allegedly? All right. So we get to see the set. The set, it looks like it's based on Miami. And you know what they should have did? Instead of these little carpet things, look, I get it. The budget's not probably that big for Potomac, but I want it to look like Miami. Like, I mean, it doesn't really look like Miami. Like, when you take a first glance at it, it doesn't look like Miami. I feel like if you look at some of the Married to Medicine sets, we really had some amazing Married to Medicine reunion sets. Go take a look back at that. Really, I mean, and I have to say, Real Housewives of Atlanta's reunion set from last year, inspired by Jamaica, that was one of the best sets that I've seen them do in a long time. That was beautiful. I'm guessing the budget in Potomac. Sorry, girls. Look, sorry, girls. But the ratings aren't rating like Atlanta. No matter how you feel about Atlanta, you're saying Potomac is that girl. The ratings are good for Atlanta. Don't get me wrong. However, they're not rating, especially at this point in the season, like Atlanta was. Despite you calling it a boring season, Atlanta was still getting at least near or over 1 million towards the end of their season last year. Just saying. But Potomac is not far behind. Potomac is not far behind. So in reaction to Candiace not getting the first seat, she posted this tweet, because a lot of you had strong opinions. Candiace should have had first seat. She's dealt with a lot this season. She carried the season. Well, apparently the producers didn't agree. And we have to remember, again, there's parts of the season that we still have not seen. And as you can see in Mexico, we're not really talking about the Chris Bassett situation. We're not really talking about that. So at this point, Candiace is really just showing up in everyone else's situation right now as a friend, which we can appreciate. So I can understand her not having a first seat. But like I said before, I don't feel like it's a big deal that she doesn't have first seat. She's still going to come back next season. So she does react to this because a lot of you have been tweeting her and having reactions to her not having first seat. Candiace says this: I appreciate you all. Thank you for writing for me. We needn't be upset, though. I'm not. Being great is a marathon. I am validated by God, not a chair. Yeah. Honestly. And it's, again, if we had saw throughout history how this seating meant something to their contracts, then we would understand. But it doesn't. It doesn't carry any weight. There really is no history of like, oh yeah, anytime this person had this seat, they didn't come back. Only thing that we can conclude is if you're sitting the closest to Andy, then you had probably the toughest season. Or like in Beverly Hills, it's just in your contract. Or if it's Gizelle, you're forever a producer. And look, Gizelle, I have to say this, and I said this before. I believe you're on track to be the next Lisa Rinna, and not in a good way. Gizelle did show up, and look, we all produce in our lives, be it on television or in your actual life. We're producing our lives because you're making conscious choices of what you want to put out there. You're making conscious choices of how you show up. And look, you always need someone that's going to help carry a scene along, because if you rely on some people, a scene will be boring. However, Gizelle has, in the last few seasons, has gone to areas of people's marriages and just not taking any regard for people's lives off of the show just to make good television. And this has led a lot of people to turn off their television and to not like Gizelle. But Gizelle doesn't read your social media comments. Giselle's not on social media like that. She's not, and she doesn't care. Unfortunately, she's here to show up, make her money, and do her job. This is what she's thinking. But like I said to you before, this is the same energy that we got from Lisa Rinna, which turned fans off to Lisa Rinna. And I know Andy says, oh, I hope Lisa Rinna does come back. You could have had Lisa Rinna come back. Lisa Rinna really did not decide to leave this show on her own. I do think that there was some level of, I want this. Bravo wasn't willing to give her this, so she decided not to return because they weren't offering her what she wanted. And I believe that right now, Gizelle will take whatever she can get at this point, because this is really the only thing that she has going on. But Gizelle, keep it up. Bravo does pay attention to what the fans are feeling towards these housewives. If you don't connect with fans, then you won't return. No matter how popular you might be right now, People want to see more of your life. People want to see you tell your story instead of trying to bring and drag out people's story and then accuse people of things that could cause harm to their lives and their livelihood. Tread lightly, Gizelle. Sidebar. So speaking of the housewives, I did ask a question on social media. And I didn't even ask a question. Well, I did ask a question. I basically said this in regards to what Bravolebrity would shake the Bravo universe if they were to return. And I said the first person that comes to mind, and look, if you watch any of my recaps or news stories on NeNe Leakes, no matter how you feel about NeNe Leakes, I believe if she was to return, especially because she sued Bravo, I don't think she will because she sued Bravo. Just keep that in mind. I think if she did return, that would literally shake the Bravo universe. It would shake it. Is it going to happen? No. And I just saw a tweet before I did this video where people were like, well, people forget that, in her last few seasons, she was saying, yes, I'm not saying that NeNe didn't start feeling herself towards the last couple of seasons, and which did not make her fun to watch. But that doesn't change the fact, if she was to return, she would shake the Bravo universe. People were saying, BravoCon, great. But when you talk about some of these housewives that weren't there, Bethany Frankel, Lisa Vanderpump, like, how are you having a Legends Ball without the legends, like the real legends, an LVP, a Bethany, or a NeNe Leakes? So no matter if NeNe Leakes was feeling herself towards the last couple of seasons and she really wasn't showing up the way that she showed up in our lives years ago, she still, if she was to return now, would shake up the Bravo universe. Guys, as always, I want to continue this conversation about what Bravolebrity do you think, if they were to return, would shake up the Bravo universe. Let's have that conversation in the comment section. And let me know your reaction to the RHOP seating. And do you think it even matters at this point? As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.